Welcome back to Her Living Word, Episode 11, Lois and Eunice, Faith That Leaves a Legacy. Today, we turn to a quiet but powerful story tucked inside Paul's second letter to Timothy, a story about two women whose names are mentioned only once in Scripture, yet their influence continues to echo through generations. Lois and Eunice. Timothy is often remembered as Paul's spiritual son, a young leader entrusted with guiding the early church. But before he ever preached a sermon or traveled on missionary journeys, Timothy was shaped at home, in a family where faith was lived, not just spoken. Paul wrote in 2 Timothy 1-5, "I am reminded of your sincere faith, which first lived in your grandmother Lois, and in your mother Eunice, and I am persuaded now lives in you also." What a beautiful testimony. 3 generations connected by the thread of faith. We don't know all the details of Lois and Eunice's daily lives, but we can imagine the small, steady moments. Lois perhaps telling Timothy stories of God's faithfulness, Eunice teaching him the scriptures, both women modeling prayer in times of need and praise in moments of joy. Their faith was not perfect, but it was sincere, and that sincerity left an indelible mark. Timothy's father was a Greek, likely not a believer, which makes the faith of his mother and grandmother even more striking. They chose to plant seeds of faith into Timothy despite cultural pressures, despite the unknowns of the future. Those seeds took root, and God multiplied the harvest through Timothy's ministry alongside Paul. Think about this. Paul went on to call Timothy his true son in the faith. But the foundation of that faith didn't begin with Paul. It began at home, with women who may have never imagined their everyday. Devotion would prepare a young man to lead churches across the ancient world. This is the legacy of Lois and Eunice. Their story whispers to us, never underestimate the power of small acts of faith. The bedtime prayers, the gentle encouragement, the scripture read at the table, the worship sung in the kitchen. These quiet seeds matter. They matter more than we may ever know. Maybe you're a mother, a grandmother, an aunt, a mentor, or simply someone walking faithfully with God in front of younger eyes. You might wonder if your prayers are heard, if your example is noticed. Lois and Eunice remind us it is. Even when we don't see the results immediately, faith has a way of taking root in the hearts of the next generation. And maybe you like Timothy, you've inherited a faith because someone before you lived it out. If so, give thanks for those Lois and Eunice figures in your life. Their faith paved a road for yours. The story of Lois and Eunice may be just a few words in the Bible, but its lesson is timeless. Sincere faith, lived out daily, creates ripples that go far beyond what we can imagine. Their legacy became Timothy's strength, Paul's encouragement, and the church's blessing. So today, let's take this to heart. Your faith, no matter how ordinary it feels, can shape generations. You may not see all the fruit, but God does. And just as he used Lois and Eunice to impact Timothy, he can use you to plant seeds of faith that will grow into a legacy of hope, strength, and love. That is the faith that leaves a legacy.